With that, I want to introduce Lisa. I'll also mention that Lisa is a longtime journalist and she's also an author and a longtime mentor. She's a trifecta force, and she's also the head of the news department at KBOO in Oregon.
In the past, yeah.
And in the past, yes. And now she's our news director for our community report team that we're building right now
Right.
for Pacifica Network. So if you or a reporter you know has something that they think they might want to share with us, we would love to hear it, and please contact Lisa. Um, she's also super fun and always has really cool glasses. And this is a new pair I haven't seen yet, and I'm really enjoying them. And without further ado, I want to introduce Lisa and her talk on safety in reporting.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. And on the glasses, I just want to say this, y'all. Never put your glasses on someplace where you sit. That's just a simple message. And yeah, I have new glasses. Thanks. I like them too. Um, um, yeah, I'm old now. I've been doing this for a long time. Actually, I figured out recently that I've been writing and publishing news since 1977. That's almost half a century. And a lot of things have changed. A lot of things haven't changed. But as we get together, this group of people, we get together, we're going to share information. I want you to rededicate yourself to the idea that you're part of a team. You're part of a community of reporters who are not like any of the other communities of reporters, right? We're not commercial. And we're certainly not NPR, no offense. I mean, we have NPR components, but our approach when we're collecting information, we're going places that other media doesn't. And we're looking for unheard perspectives, unseen perspectives, right? And as we watch society unravel, we're seeing, I just always have this feeling that there's a tsunami coming, but I don't know where it is. But I know it's going to hit me and my family, but I have no idea how, where, when. I feel like that every day. And I live kind of near James Costello now. It's a pretty low key place in a lot of ways. He might argue with me about that, but I'm from Portland and it is not low key. I'm from Portland, and in the year 2020, we had more than 100 nights actually of protests in the streets, and we all learned a lot doing that. So I have a bunch of things. I want to say that I have a super detailed slideshow. I'm not going to go through that. But when Stephanie sends out the link to the roundtable, I'll tack on the PDF of the slideshow. And also last year during our elections covering workshops, we had 2 reporter safety workshops. One of them was like personal safety. The other was kind of like online safety. And I'll tack those on too. And today I just wanted to take the time to look at the basic things that if you're going to go cover a protest, or if you're in a situation where violence breaks out, right? Because this is reporter safety. It's a reporter safety roundtable for us here today. I have a few things to say, but I would love to see other people talk too. So starting out, as journalists, everything we do is relational. We don't we're not transactional. The president and his administration are transactional. You do something for me, and then I'll do something for you, maybe. But we're relational. We're relating to each other right now. And as we're thinking about the work we do as reporters, I want to strongly encourage you, when you interview somebody, to actually take a minute and say, if you know of a story, please let me know. Call me. This is my information. You've got my email, whatever. You call me. That's relational, right? Right now, at Pacifica on the AudioPort website, we have a content hub called Community News, and we're hoping we want more people to participate with us on that. But if you look on there, you can see how many things are of interest to us, how many things are really a big deal. And every time I interview someone for the community news, I take a moment after the interview and just talk to them like a person, like not a reporter, not a source, but like a person, right? In fact, I just got off the phone with the communications guy at LULAC, which is the oldest Latino labor union in the United States. It's almost 100 years old. And we chatted for a while and it was wonderful. I just strongly want to encourage you to do that. Why am I bringing that up? This is a safety training. Shouldn't I be talking about how to fit a bulletproof vest? We as journalists, as community journalists, we are the storytellers of our communities. We're the keepers of the information. I just want to also encourage you, as you're doing your work, think about this. What is the story of your region? What is the story of your community? Right? Everybody's got a story. Later in this hour, I want to talk about this particular reporter named Sergio Olmos. He's based in Los Angeles. I want to talk about the work he does because I want you to see somebody who's really doing an incredible job in danger and still staying safe, right? But this is what I'm trying to say. The work you do every day is not really separate from the work that you might do, that you need to think about your safety. And as we move forward in this presidential administration, I don't want to make everything about Donald Trump, but he's ripping the curtain off of a lot of institutions, tendencies, behavior that used to be considered antisocial. And I want you, as you're doing your regular work, to look around your community and think to yourself, what is the story of my community? What is the story of my community? You know, Portland, Oregon, working class, filled with artists. All of a sudden, people realized it was cheap land, cheap houses, and the whole thing gentrified, and now everybody lives in the street. That's the story of Portland, Oregon, right? And we have riots, whatever. We have
boy howdy.
Whatever. But I want you to think about that because now I want you to imagine when you're looking around your community that you're out there every day. Find the flashpoints. What are the flashpoints in your community where violence or abuse happen? And you might say, well, here's law enforcement. Easy, right? Right now, what's changing is that the flashpoints in our communities are changing and shifting. Our politics are heating up just like the environment. And we don't always know what's going to happen, right? I want you to think about the story of your community and think about where flashpoints are likely to happen. I had this job where I had this boss, it was a newspaper job. I worked there for many years. I loved this job, but I had a boss, she made me crazy. And one day she said to me, you should be anticipating the news. You should be able to know what's going to happen before it happens. Are you kidding me right now? And then I realized she was right. Once I began to understand better the community that I was reporting on, the individuals in it, the people who were the leaders in it, who were the elected officials, who ran the school, what about the kids at Jefferson High School? When I started to understand that community better, I could see where flashpoints were going to happen. And you can do that too. Right? I need you to tap your creativity. And there's another thing I want to warn you about. It's called normalcy bias. One of the things that impacted me when I first started being a volunteer at news at KBOO Community Radio was I would go to these wild situations and I'd think, wow, what's going on over there? That's too crazy. I can't even deal with it. I'm going to interview the calm person over here. These are choices you might make when you're out in the field, deciding if you're at a protest, deciding who to talk to. And a lot of people on here probably have been to protest in the past 6 months, right? But when you make it relational, as a journalist, when you take your place, even if you think you're a small person, it doesn't matter at all. I guarantee, as a journalist, you could go up on the street to somebody in your community and say, hey, I want to take your picture, and they're going to be scared of you. So you're really not powerless. But I want you to strongly realize your place in understanding your community, understanding the story of your community, and then looking ahead to see where flashpoints are going to happen. So already, if there's a place in your community where people who are migrants or immigrants or migrant workers congregate, live, work, that's going to be a flashpoint. Okay? Why am I bringing this up? This is a reporter safety training. Because, and I'm not going to cry when I say this, we have jackbooted thugs wearing masks. We don't even know how many there are. We don't know where they are, but they're showing up in municipalities in vans. I don't know if this has happened where you live. I don't know if you think it's going to happen where you live, but I want you to be prepared if it does. These people are showing up. They're mostly men, a few women. They're beating people up, dragging them away, and we don't even always know where they're going. I don't know if you listen to what the President of the United States of America says, or Tom Homan, his border czar. But Tom Homan, like this week, basically said, he threatened Portland, Oregon. And then he basically said that the ICE is not afraid of, what did they call it? Collateral violence, collateral arrest. Anybody that gets in the way. He's basically putting everyone on notice that anybody that gets in the way of somebody being dragged away by faceless thugs also should expect violence, maybe even to be arrested. Okay. Never seen this level of threat in my lifetime. 50 years, right? As a journalist. So, I mean, in a way, I'm telling you, really dig in and double down on your own community. Figure out who are the vulnerable people in your community and who are the people most likely to be aggressors in your community.
Right.
I just want you to think about it. Like, make a social map, make a mental map of it. Okay. And that's going to help you as you figure out what to do if violence breaks up around you. There's also the issue of cyberbullying, right? So now I want to shift gears a little bit. Let's just define, what is a riot? This is kind of important. A riot is a police designation. A riot is not a whole bunch of rowdy people, even if there's 1,000 rowdy people over here drinking beer, freaking out. That's not a riot until the police come. I just want you to know that. As you're writing a story, just because there's 100 people protesting and screaming and breaking eggs and stuff, that doesn't make it a riot. A riot is a police designation. Just really want to be crystal clear on that. And you've heard this phrase, "He read me the Riot Act." My mom used to say that. Well, that is literally what it is. And with the police in Portland, this is how it happened. They drove through the protests in big police cars, and they had like klaxons or whatever, megaphones, such as they actually have to read the letter of whatever their local law is, but they have it. And after the police declare it a riot, you lose rights. They can do whatever they want. And that's why it's important. But I just wanted to make you understand, like, that's kind of a fine distinction. And as you're going to go out there to understand what's going on, if you hear the police, read the Riot Act, be more vigilant. Think about what you're doing, because the rules just changed when that happened. Okay. All right. Okay, on to the next thing. It's 1:30. I'm going to say that there's two main scenarios that you might face as you go out, your people go out. There's going to be, you might be going into a situation where violence breaks out after you're there. This actually happened in Spokane. Linnea cannot be here today to tell the story of what happened at their June protest, but they had this wonderful protest all day. Really cool. Saw the video. It was amazing. And when it got dark, the riot squad came and just started rounding everybody up. So you can be at a calm situation when violence breaks out, or you might be dispatched to a violent situation. Okay. These are two, I just want you to think about this, right? And as you're talking to other people, you're talking to your reporters. If you're an editor, a manager or something, you're going to be thinking about your people. You're going to be thinking about your crew, and you want them to be safe, right? So this is important for you to be able to share with them. And this is in a document I'm going to tack on when Stephanie sends out the link to this roundtable. So looking at those two main scenarios, I'm just going to say to you that we already talked about how the politics is like the climate change. Personal safety as a reporter absolutely has everything to do with what happened in Texas too. I had this job in Scappoose, Oregon, yay, in 1987. And before I got there, Scappoose had catastrophic floods. The entire staff of the Scappoose Spotlight newspaper, everybody suited up and went out across the city in the dark, in the middle of the night. They had agreed they were going to do it in advance because they had some notice that there was going to be a storm, but nobody knew that there was going to be a flood. This was years ago, almost 40 years ago. So when I had that job, one of the worst jobs I ever had, I'll never forget the publisher talking about how freaked out she was when she realized that even her circulation director had a pad of paper, a pencil, and a camera and was out in the dark in the rain somewhere. And, they didn't even know where they were, right? It was a group of 5 people. That's also a place where you're facing safety issues, right? And both of these things, civil unrest and climate disasters they're going to happen more often. You can actually plan for it. You can make that would be a really interesting training of itself. Like, let's make a danger plan just for us. We could do that. But so your reporter, you might be with other people, but chances are you're by yourself. Some people buddy up. 2 people I've seen have done reporting at the protests this year. But buddy systems are important. So this is a tool. I need to write this down. Buddy systems. Okay. You're a reporter. You have all your equipment. I'm going to say your Jim radio. That guy, he must be bristling with equipment, man, when he goes out. Your Jim, you go out. Here come the thugs, right? If you have a buddy, it could be somebody who's physically with you right now, or it could be your mom. Doesn't even matter who it is. It could be someone who's off the scene, but they know where you are. And if something goes wrong, you're going to call that person. It could be your news director. It could be your mom. It could be someone who's physically with you. But you need to have someone that you can call if something happens. We've been kettled by the police. We have no idea what's going on. And the police are starting to beat people. That's a time when you're going to call your buddy. Your buddy you need to make a little plan with them. Like, what are they going to do? If it's your news director, they might be prepared to come down to City Hall and bail you out if you're arrested. That's something that a news director could do. In Portland, it's all in a complex. So that's why I said City Hall. If it's your mom, you call your mom or a friend or your sweetheart or your partner. Tell them what you need them to do in advance. Like, okay, come and drive the vehicle from home and show up at this place that's near where I'm being kettled by the police, right? Physically come and help me. Or worst case scenario, you might be arrested and only have one call. You might call your buddy and have your buddy call a list of attorneys, your news director, and all that stuff. Don't go to a protest where it's going to be dangerous alone. It's kind of like hiking. If something goes wrong in the current climate, the law enforcement's not acting like it used to, and we don't know what's going to happen. So find a buddy and make a plan with that person if something goes wrong, and then nothing will go wrong, according to my dad. Oh, okay, moving on. So what if something does go wrong? What's the worst thing that can happen? What are we afraid of, right? Getting your equipment confiscated or broken is going to be the number one thing, right? Before you go to a protest or a situation, you're going to write your name, your radio station's name, contact information on everything. You probably already know that. The other thing is, being physically injured. Being physically injured is something that I am afraid of if I go to a protest. Maybe not in Modesto, because Modesto is a really nice town, right? But in Los Angeles, this stuff went berserk. The violence in Los Angeles is on steroids right now. And it's because Donald Trump is targeting the sanctuary cities. Take a moment and determine if you live in a sanctuary city is a good idea right now, right? Physical violence, being physically injured. I had talked before about Sergio Olmos. What time is it? It's 1:35. After, in about 5 minutes, I want to ask Stephanie if I can share the screen and show you some things, but it doesn't have to happen now. Sergio Olmos, who I don't personally know, but I'm a big fan of his. He's a younger man, and he came out of the University of Oregon, I'm going to say 7 years ago, with a multimedia degree. And so he was doing freelancing, this and that. But when the 2020 protests broke out in Portland, he, like everybody else, became immersed in it. And that kind of, in a way, it minted his career. It made him famous among those who know him. But now he's based in Los Angeles. He works for Cal Matters, and he was shot in the chest about 2 weeks ago with what they call foam grenades. Foam, grenade.
Yeah.
Those two words go together, and they're shot out of a grenade launcher. And he wasn't hospitalized, but other people have been. This is not something that used to happen, my friends. So, you know, if you're injured, I guess that's another time to call your buddy. If you're a news director or a manager, just think a little bit about what you will do in this kind of situation. At KBOO in 2020, we had these two interim station managers, and they were such argument. I don't even need to get into it. Argumentative people, but they dropped everything, and they dropped all the arguments to go down and bail out the KBOO reporters who were arrested because they were, and the station absorbed that cost. I don't even know how much it was. Being injured, what are we afraid of? Losing or breaking your equipment, being physically injured, or being detained. If you are detained, I want to, well, on my little sheet here, the National Lawyers Guild, specifically the National Lawyers Guild, has what's called the Mass Protest Emergency Hotline. If you're a journalist and you've been detained, I'm going to strongly encourage you to call that line, because that way they're not going to dispatch an attorney on a drone and drop him over the cop shop or anything like that. But this professional organization will be on notice that you're being detained, you're being held by law enforcement, whatever level that is. And it's kind of important. The National Lawyers Guild also has sometimes representatives that go to protests. Even if you're in a small town, one of the things that people in Portland do is before they go to the protest, they write that number in a Sharpie on their arm. You've may have heard me say this before. Write it with a Sharpie on your arm. You don't know what's going to happen. And if my dad is right, being very prepared will make the thing not happen. He may have been right in certain ways. Look around the region, anticipate the news. Stephanie, can we share the screen?
Yeah, if you push there's a green share
I
button on the
got it.
bottom. Yeah.
Where am I going? Desktop one. I'm going to go here. No, that's not it. Entire screen. Okay, I'm going to lift this up. I know the thing is talking to me. It doesn't have to. Stop. Okay, this is what I want to bring up. Sergio Olmos is so interesting. It's SERGIO, and then it's OLMOS. I'm going to strongly encourage you to go find that guy on the internet, find him on social media, and follow the hell out of that guy. Okay, he's the best and brightest. He too is Latino, so he goes to these protests like this. And so you can see this video, right? This is his video. The horses, man. So he's probably walking backwards.
Yep, walk backwards.
And he's also in danger of being scooped. Right? Anyway, Sergio Olmos. One of the things, and this is the last thing I want to say about Sergio Olmos, and then I'd like to hear from you. The interesting thing that Sergio Olmos does is that, like, on Twitter, some people it's X and some people call it XITTER, which is shitter. But on Twitter, he always live streams protests. He's been doing it for 5 years, and he does it in a certain style. His Twitter handle is Mr. Olmos. Mr. Olmos. He also posts to Instagram, which is what this is, but it's not the same. His Twitter streams are live. Right. And what fascinates me about him is that I realized just like this week that that is part of his personal safety. If he's live tweeting, he's posting film, he's posting video to Twitter in real time. That means the whole world can see where he is. If somebody comes and scoops him, grabs him, shoots him in the chest, my God, the whole world would know that too. So, I mean, people here on this call, we're journalists, we do community news, but you're also the future of journalism. And you might see something that gives you an idea for what we'll be doing in 10 years, right? I want you to think about that. So one of the things that Sergio almost always does, and I started, this is a big windup. At the end of his Twitter streams, he always, the last post is, and I'm out of downtown. He just reports that he's left the scene. I need you to take that into. If you're in a dangerous situation, you've got your buddy, or maybe you're live streaming, let people know that you're safe and that you're out. It sounds like a small thing, but it's not. And then I want to turn to Jim Radio. Jim Radio, safety, just in general, reporter safety. Do you really, how many pieces of equipment are you holding when you go out and cover a protest?
My phone. That's it. And I just have a Apple Mini 13. I do have a fuzzy mic on it. It is on a little handle. I travel very lightly. I've been to 30 political events here in Austin since the beginning of the year. Some are pretty mainstay. We've had no serious violence or hardly any scuffling, with one exception. Austin's not a riot city like some cities we know. A lot of frustration. A lot of people feel that demonstrations aren't worth going to. It's hot. There's other things going on. And most of the demonstrations are centered around the state capitol or downtown. The thing I want to contribute to your excellent workshop is about this 3-4 minutes. Press credentials. Can you see that?
They matter in your personal safety. Go.
Yeah. Okay. Press credentials are very important. You wear it in a lanyard around your neck. Some people think you should have a pull-away lanyard so nobody can clothesline you and grab it if you turn and run. I never turn and run. I back up, just as you said. Back up, back up, back up. Most of the footage I have that's of any legal or newsworthy, I am backing up. I'm covering the scene. I'm panning back and forth while holding the camera steady. I am looking around to make sure nobody clocks me or I trip over anybody, and I continue to back up, back up, back up. Press credentials are very handy. I acknowledge right off that I'm a 70-year-old white male. I wear a white cowboy hat, so it's hard to tell exactly what my politics are. I sort of seem to have that kind of goofy relationship with cops. I don't know why that is. But one trick I've learned with these press credentials, I got 2 of them. There's our dear friends at KPFT, Austin Airwaves, and fairly realistic looking press credentials. In Texas, you're supposed to make your own. The value of this is if there's a police line.
I'm just going to bop in here for a second. Lisa, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, keep going.
Okay, good. The value of press credentials are numerous. You should act in a manner typical of a reporter. And they'll tell you in journalism school right out, you can either be a journalist or you can be a demonstrator. You can't be both. So I dropped out of journalism school. The value of this is if you're ever on the front line, I rarely go into a crowd. I'm always on the periphery. So I see the medics, I see the cops, I see the looky-loos and the tourists, but I also see the line of police that is waiting for this to charge or whatever. If you've ever seen a line of cops, you can use your press credentials very valuably by going and show it to them all. Even walk down the line. You're not necessarily looking at the cop behind the shield. You're showing it to his body camera. You're showing all those officers that you are a member of the press. You've got enough snap to show your press credentials, and frankly, and being a white guy. Any number of times I've been shoved around rather gently when other demonstrators have been thrown to the ground. Press credentials are invaluable. I don't know what your state of Oregon has as far as making them. Texas got tired of issuing them, so you can make your own. These date back to Katrina, when they stopped letting activists in, so we started making press credentials. These are very valuable. Don't abuse them. Oh, and then if you come to the Spokane GRC and mention Lisa's name, you can get a free "Is this story worth getting my ass kicked?" bumper sticker. Thank you.
Okay, great. That was awesome. Oregon, you have to make your own too. In other places, in Los Angeles, for example, the police department issues press credentials. Even if even you literally in your community, take a minute and figure that out. Find out how you get them. But you can still make your own press credential, even if they won't give you one. It should say, let's talk for a minute about what should be on it. Okay. A picture is really super helpful. Super helpful. the word media or press should be really big, the most noticeable thing. And now the other thing is you should have your station of affiliation. Even if you're making up a name for your own company, you have to have an affiliation. It should have your signature on it too. And there should be an expiration date.
Oops.
If you put a phone number on it, that's a good idea, because then if something happens to you, like at KBOO, we put the news director's phone number on it because that's the person who's going to be responsible or dealing with it if something happens. Right?
So question on that quick one. The expiration date, should it be like a year out?
Make it up.
Okay.
Make it up.
I know mine expired back in 2020.
Okay.
And I mean, the purpose of a press pass is just to identify yourself. You're not trying to sneak into the reggae show.
Right.
Don't do that, because it will backfire on you in some ways. But it is kind of important.
I might also add that as the demonstration is coming together, we have two police forces in Austin. We have the Austin Police Department, which is much improved under our new police chief, Lisa Davis. And after the terrible Mike Ramos, George Floyd riots a few years back, they're much improved. They tend to mass a little further away. They try not to be so imposing and threatening. We have the other police department is the DPS, the Department of Public Safety. These are not your friends. They only answer to Abbott and they don't like us. What I frequently do, now again, I have a certain bravado. I am an older white man. I will go up and say, "Hi guys, how you doing? Getting overtime?" And they'll laugh or not laugh. I said, "Where's your PIO, or who's the top cop?" Before the demonstration, I have a need to know. I want to get a quote. PIO, Public Information Officer, is often the most friendly cop on the road. You go over and talk to him or her a little bit. Now they know who you are, right? And that's all it's for. And rarely will they tell you to bugger off. I cannot overemphasize the advantage of being a little white guy. We should have a
button it, Jim. Come on, man. Button it on the white guy stuff. Come on, man. We can't do that.
I know. Please continue.
Jim brought up some super crucial points. And remember what I talked about being relational, right? As a journalist, even if you're a volunteer journalist, it's going to be really powerful for you to find out who, even before you go into the scene, find out who the police spokespeople are or person, right? Also for the organizations that are organizers, right? Find out who the people are, because that's also part of your safety there. It's part of the relational aspect of it, right? Because, when I'll say this, in Portland, those protests were 5 years ago. The ACLU of Oregon just settled the last legal case about them. And it was a group of 8 journalists, and they got $1 million, and the city pays these fines, right? Actually, it's their insurance, but everybody's going to sue somebody at the end. In Oregon, almost all the charges are almost always dropped, almost always. And the city of Portland paid out, I think I figured $4 million in damages from the violence that law enforcement did in 2020 in the city of Portland, including to journalists. So lawsuit, do you know an attorney? But personal safety, I'm just going to, my last few words on this, be relational in your community. Try to find out who the spokespeople of the police are. And like Jim said, when you are at a demonstration, consider going up to them and saying, can you point me to the direction of the spokesperson or the PIO? However, on the other hand, if there's chaos happening and you see that red fog in front of the police's face, because if you've seen it, you know what I mean. If they're busy, don't bother them, right? Be relational. Okay. Does anybody have questions? And anybody have a story? You want to bring something up?
No, in fact, I may duck out. I have to go to beautiful Kyle, Texas. Thank you for the excellent presentation, Lisa.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Okay.
Jim contains multitudes.
I heard that.
I know you did. It's true. He does a lot with one phone. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm very surprised. He does a lot of video. Does anybody feel like you live in a community that might have really obvious flashpoints that you're thinking about right now? Don't be shy. And that can even be climate. I didn't get a chance to ask Jim about that. What are all the things that make us unsafe, right? flood reporting is terrifying. When I was in journalism school, I knew someone who had an internship at one of the local newspapers, and there was a grass fire. This was a long time ago. And his boss said, "Oh, take the camera, go get pictures." This guy just rushed right at the fire. He got surrounded by it. He didn't get burned, but he got sick. He just wasn't thinking about what he was doing. So think about what you're doing. When I showed you that video from Mr. Olmos, you could see that he had ran straight for the conflict, couldn't you? He ran straight for the horses. He put himself right in the middle of it. He's a total expert who's been doing this for years, but that's a dangerous move. What Jim said about staying on the edge and then going in and coming out, visualize it like that. Visualize it like that. Thank you, Matilda. Questions? Anybody have questions?
If no one else has one, I'll start. You had talked earlier about brainstorming a danger plan. And that seemed like it would be a cool thing to do together. I mean, it sounds like you already started it with, bringing a buddy, having someone to call, having the lawyer phone number on there, on your arm. Are there any other things what are other things that you think that people would do?
Okay, I'm going to say something really, if we plan for it, it won't happen, according to my dad. In the city of Portland, after a while with these wild riots, and they were declared as riots by the police, and that's why don't even need to get into it. There was a lot of tear gas, right? Tear gas. And it's just, I've never experienced tear gas, but people kept milk and milk of magnesia in their car, right? So that if they got tear gassed, they could help themselves. I'm hoping against hope that none of you guys are going to ever have to deal with something like that. Again, figure out if you're in a sanctuary city. God.
I suppose even like just getting a mask just in case? Or would that label you as a problem in the eyes of the police? Or I don't know.
So the thing about masks, right? I live in the land of MSNBC. Like, I'm trapped in MSNBC because of my beloved mom, and that's who she watches. That's what she watches. Those masks are interesting because when the MSNBC people were covering the fires in LA, they had masks. That's a place where you're in danger, right? Where I live, and you don't breathe that air at all. You need to think about that. It's a good idea. I think you'll know if you're going into a situation where there's going to be tear gas. I think you'll know. You might even figure out what kind of weapons your local police department has. I don't know if you live in places where the police department collaborates with other law enforcement, but in Portland, and it's happening in Los Angeles too. In Portland, those protests in 2020 were Donald Trump. And he sent the BORTAC, the BORTAC is there again in Portland, because the Border Tactical Squad is a riot squad that Donald Trump created just for the border. Oh, did Biden dismantle it? No. But even right now, there's a ring of protesters today around the ICE headquarters in Portland, Oregon, and people protest there every night. And the BORTAC is there right now. You don't read about it. Big deal. BFD. It's Portland. And then they're going to go have some beer. But you can think about these things in advance. But I really strongly encourage you to.
You mentioned briefly, kind of jokingly, about wearing like a bulletproof vest, but what do you think about that?
Sanctuary cities. So in Portland in 2020, there was so much violence by the police that even the daily newspaper, my beloved friend Beth, they had helmets, like bike helmets. They had masks. They had big patches that said press on their bulletproof vests. And people still got shot. And, plastic bullets hurt too, right? So, yeah, I mean, you'll know if you're going into a situation like that. You might be mentoring a young reporter who's super excited to cover these things. Do it. And share these thoughts with that person. We need more people. We need more young reporters to be mentored and to go out to the places, right? But Bulletproof vest, man. Wow. A mask is maybe not a bad idea, especially if you live in a wildfire zone. Wildfire zone.
Does anyone else have any thoughts?
Well, I received my first hate call the other day.
Ooh.
We broadcast a show, Attitude with Arnie Arneson, from Pacifica every day at 3. And about 3:50, when the show is winding down, I got a phone call and the guy said, "Is this the radio?" And I go, "Yes." And he goes, "What is that liberal crap you have on your station? And you should all be shipped off to Guantanamo and be hanged." And he just went on. And then he said, "I'm not interested in dialogue. I'm just going to tell you what I'm thinking." And then at the very end, he used the F word and then Jesus in the same sentence. And he realized that they don't go together. The word Jesus and F word don't really go together. And so he tried to he's kind of stumbled a minute and kind of started to say, well, maybe that's not such a good juxtaposition or something. He didn't use that word, but anyway, and then he hung up. He did not say, where do I live? I know where you live and all that stuff. So Modesto is a pretty calm town. And I'll just say one thing. When at the NFCB conference, Amy Goodman fired everyone up to go tell the truth in your community. And so I went out on the June 4th protest, June 14th, or July. Well, anyway, and I took my little Tascam recorder and I interviewed people. And I caught some of the sounds. I didn't have video, but I caught some of the sounds we had 4,000 people in Modesto show up, which is never happens. And so I got about a 5-minute segment out of it and edited it down a little bit and then put it on. It's still running on the radio off and on. And people have heard it and kind of given me a pat. So that was my first foray into journalism.
Send me those things that you do. Send them to me. Email them to me. I would love to have them. We will use them too, man. What James said was a really important point that I'm really embarrassed that I left out. If you're getting phone calls, the most important thing is that you document them. Have one piece of paper, one notebook, write down the time, the date, and whatever you remember of what was said, right? You could even keep that on a wall in your station. At KBOO, at any one time, there's a handful of people being stalked and harassed. And the station can't help, really. I mean, they're not cops, but what people do is they document them. And that way, if there's an incident, or if it gets so bad, it would be the FBI, I think, that you would call for something like that. But you could also fill out a police report, but document it, date, time, and as much as you can remember of what was said. Yep.
I just put Lisa's email in the chat. Protest is a really good example of what we're taking now from different community radio stations and journalists. And then also bigger, or not bigger, but other like themed stories we're working on more now too. So yeah, please do get in touch.
Right. And yeah, before we sign off, our vision, me and Ursula and Stephanie's vision, and Bob too, we want to have a closer alliance with all of our stations, and we want to share more resources among the news departments. I love it when people text me, call me, email me. If you're working on a big idea, you don't know how to pursue it, if you've got a problem, if you wish you had more ideas, whatever it is, I'd love to hear from you. I just love to. So, all right.
That's great. Any other thoughts?
Just to thank you very much for the information you gave us here in California, where we specifically got a program. One of our programmers decided to just go out and cover all the demonstrations that we have, all the whatever rallies and we specifically made a program called "The People Are Speaking from the Streets," or something to that effect. And it's been a big hit, and it's been a thing of people feeling at least that when they get interviewed by us, that they will hear themselves again, and it just giving them support. But also the most important thing too is that if you weren't able to make the demonstration or the rally, you end up hearing the speakers again. And I mean, and it's just one of those things that it's really promoting strength and unity in our community. And it's just been different and it's just that wide, not just on immigration and demonstrations, but labor demonstrations, picket lines, and all of that. He's taken it on upon himself, and it's a wonderful thing that he's doing. I'm not going to embarrass him by saying his name. Well, we just call him Mr. Tooch. And I think that maybe Ursula knows him, and maybe Stephanie too, because he's also with KPFA. But he's with us right now doing a great job, and he's going to be the first one that I'm going to pass this information, this recording, because thank you so much, Lisa. Very good information and very helpful. And thank you again for this presentation.
Thank you. I want to follow up on what you just said. You guys do incredible work. Everybody here does incredible work. I want you to think about taking your smaller pieces and creating a more long form program, because maybe some people have heard me say this before. All of our radio stations have holidays. People don't want to be there on the 4th of July, Christmas, New Year's Eve, the President's Days, whatever. So if you had a 1-hour documentary or just a longer version, putting all of your reporting together, it might give you ideas about the story of your community. The story of your community. I'm just really, again, it's going to strongly encourage you to figure out, what is it? You're the storyteller, y'all. But be safe, think big, and just contact me if you want. I'm probably going to be contacting you, begging you for a story.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I learned so much, and just a lovely presentation, and always heartening. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I think we're done. Unless sometimes I'm going to end on answering a machine. I never know how to end it. I just keep talking, but I'm really going to stop. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. It was lovely to see you.
Bye.
Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Lisa.